if they don't provide, that it's going to collapse, right? So this kind of leads us into the next New Age problem, which we can do a hard segue in, which is abortion in general, right? Because I mean, if you
Yeah.
think
So
about it, well, if you think
that's like
about
one
it,
of the things that people say is that places are too populated. That's not the problem. The problem is that the places are too populated with people who have no skills or
but
no values.
the fact that people say that the population is going to be a problem are people that are either misinformed or they are just trying to they're
It's a
anti-humanist,
cope.
but
It's a cope.
right, right, because it's not true. Overpopulation is not a problem. We if you look at the statistics, and I think Crowder had this, he brought this up. The average for per couple, you have to produce at least two kids in order to maintain population, right?
Well, on average, it's like 2.1 because
2.1 to
yeah.
advance population, but obviously there's not a point one of a person.
Well, yeah, but like some meaning that some people have to have three, some will have two,
Right,
some
but
you
at
know
the
because
very least, you have to in order to maintain population, a couple has to have two kids, right? One for each person, just to maintain population to continue at the very least. We're at like a 1.8 right now in the U.S., which is, I don't know if you know, but that's less than two.
is it?
Yeah, we're on our way to having a serious population decrease, which could completely ruin the economy. It could completely ruin a lot of way, like especially the way we live in general. Like once it gets, we're the amount of spending and the amount of things that the government has done within the last 2 years, adding on to this like population decrease that we're gonna have because people are either aborting their kids or not having kids in general. We're gonna have such a population decrease, and the downsize in the economy compared to how many people are gonna be living on it is gonna be drastic, right? But to like the reason why like specific things like abortion and population control are a new age problem is because obviously we had less. First of all, we had less population before, but secondly, people were just worried about surviving and continuing their family and their last name and their generation. People aren't
Well,
worried
no, yeah,
about that anymore, right? People used to be they used not only did
people are
they
selfish
think life,
pricks now.
yeah, well, not only did they think that life was precious before, they wanted to, like, they wanted their genes to survive to see the next generation. They wanted to
Yeah,
preserve their families. They wanted to preserve their values and traditions. They wanted to preserve these things, but now we have like this deep indoctrination, this deep like ingraining of this like this mind virus that people call communism and socialism, that is like completely devaluing the family. It's completely devaluing, like, people don't want to hear it, but it's devaluing Christian morals and values. Like people can talk as much crap as they want about like religion or Christianity as a whole, but until Christianity came to like people, until people had these values and morals, there was no like there was no values and morals as far as being a good person regard no matter what, as far as like not
well,
being selfish, as far as like only being self-fulfilling. Like that
that's
didn't
that's part of the
happen
reason why.
before Christianity came to prevalence.
Well, that's part of the reason why we can't survive with some of these people here because the Constitution was written under a Christian moral framework,
Right.
and these people don't believe in that.
A
They don't.
lot of
They'll
people
wipe their
don't.
behind.
Right.
They don't care. Did you ever see? Quickly go back. Katie Hobbs, the Arizona, she was laughing when she was getting sworn in.
Because
Did you happen to see that?
yeah, because she,
But she doesn't believe in it.
right, well, she verified her own election that she was. What I don't understand is how can she be the person that gets to verify, that gets to approve the election if it's an election with her as one of the candidates?
I
That seems like it should be a humongous conflict of interest.
that's the only evidence I need to hear.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. Like, the only
Tyler
person
went
that
through
gets to
his own
verify
thing.
it is her, and she's the one that's one of the candidates. So I don't know.
That's like me being the referee of the soccer game
That's
that
kind
I'm
of a
playing in.
tangent. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so abortion. I'm going to get into this because I am an activist on abortion. I think abortion is bad. I think abortion is murder, and I really don't think that there's a sound, solid argument for any of these things. So, um, most of the arguments that you're going to hear, my body, my choice, or the baby's a clump of cells, or it's a parasite. But if you're debating, if you're a pro life person, or if you're not a pro life person, the question of the debate still is not settled. When does life begin? It's settled for us. We believe that life begins at conception, but when you ask these people, when is it a life? When is it a human life? There is zero consistency on that pro choice side
Yeah.
at all. And so life begins at conception. There's no other consistent time frame. So if
It's
you
the most
say,
consistent way to look at it, yeah.
it's the only consistent way. If you say that life begins at the first breath, you'd be okay with killing a baby up to 9 months in the womb. That's sycophantic, psychopathic behavior. If you say when a nervous system develops, you're talking anywhere between 7 and 10 weeks.
Yeah.
If you're talking when a heartbeat forms, that's as early as 3 weeks
Yeah.
post fertilization, which is really early on. Most people don't even really know they're pregnant at that point. Um, but life
Well,
begins at conception. There's no other time frame.
yeah.
So, really quickly, I'm going to run through the first trimester of a
Here, I
fetal
have
development.
that. I have that fetal chart. You want me to pull it up?
Yeah, pull it up and share it while I run through these really quick.
All right,
So
I'm sharing it right now.
if you guys are looking at the fetal development chart here, point to me on that chart where you think it's okay looking at that baby. Heartbeat can happen as early as 3 weeks, and on the fetal development chart, 5 weeks the baby's head starts to develop. 6 weeks you've got a nose that starts to form.
And a possible
Toes,
heartbeat at 6 weeks. Six
no,
to eight
heartbeat can be
weeks.
as early as 3 weeks, as
Oh,
early
three
in some
weeks.
cases.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that one says 6 to 8 weeks, but still, let's say it's six. Dude, if there was a nationwide ban on abortion from 6 weeks, I'm in. I'm happy for that for
Better. It's
now.
better. Yeah.
6 weeks, you've got a nose that could develop. 7 weeks, your toes will develop. 8 weeks, their elbows begin to move and your arms can stretch and move. 9 weeks, their genitals start to develop. 10 weeks, fingernails begin to form. And at 10 weeks, your baby's 2 to 3 inches in size at this point. Like, so many people say it's a microscopic clump of cells. 2 to 3 inches isn't microscopic. Ask Dalton. You know, uh,
Guilty.
yeah. So then there's other features, of course, like when it comes at fertilization, that's the combination of two sets of DNA and unique human DNA is formed, different than anybody ever in the history of humans. It's unique human DNA that are human cells that are dividing in the same fashion that mine and Dalton's are dividing right now. Yours are dividing in the same fashion as the babies in the womb as soon as fertilization happens, and it happens quickly.
Yeah.
Sentience, that doesn't work either because there's people that aren't sentient from the sense of like a coma. Like this one's a little more difficult to debate with, but if you apply sentience to a baby, what really is sentience? Like define the word sentience, and it really kinds to come of like rationality, or let's see, define sentience.
The
Let's take a
problem with
quick
that is
Google.
in order for people to define sentience, I feel like you would have to believe in religion to some degree because you can't claim that something is sentient without a soul or
Well,
without
sentience is like the faculty of sense, feeling, or consciousness. Feeling
right.
is
But
distinguished
where
from
does it come
perception.
from? I mean, where does it come from?
Right. Does
Grass?
a one
I
day
mean,
baby is a 1 day old baby really sentient? If as soon as I'm born, am I like I don't know. We can define and redefine words all day long, but that's not really. Now you're advocating for stabbing people that are in a coma, and they say, would you stab somebody that's possibly going to wake up from a coma?
right,
Um, no, because that's possible sentience. You
right,
know what else is possible sentience? A baby in the womb.
right. I don't know
And
if
I
you
know
heard
it's gonna
this.
be
Did you hear Bill Burr's joke, his abortion joke? Dude, it
probably.
literally wraps up like abortion perfectly. He had his joke where he said,
See if you can't pull it up.
uh, no, it'll be tough. I'll just give you the gist of it. People can look it up if they want, but pretty much the idea of the joke was, he's like, if you're at your buddy's house and you're gonna cook, you're gonna bake a cake. He goes, you put all the ingredients in the pan, you put everything in there, the butter, all that stuff. You throw it in the oven. your buddy comes out and takes it out of the oven, whips it across the floor. Hey, he's like, come on, that would have been a cake. He's like, it wasn't a cake though. He's like, it would have been if you just left it alone. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Same thing with sentience. Like if somebody might come out of a coma, you won't stab them because they might come out of the coma.
Right.
If you leave a baby for 9 months into a womb, I know it's coming out of the coma.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Right. If you don't bother, like that's basic human genetics. That's biology. Like you're literally tampering. You're tampering with biology. But that's like the same thing as these people that want to genetically modify their kid. Like that, I think that's just as bad. That's disgusting. Like I understand. Like if you could, I don't know. I can at least understand why people could do it to some degree, but I would never do it, and I would never advocate for it, and I think it's disgusting. But people, there's an argument where they can genetically modify the baby before it comes out to I guess vet for like mental disabilities or stuff like that they
but those tests are wildly inaccurate. Wildly inaccurate.
But regardless,
you're going to kill your baby because it might have Down syndrome. That's sycophantic too.
Disgusting.
The baby doesn't deserve to die. That's disgusting behavior. If you're going to kill your baby because it's got Down syndrome or something. So the next argument that you'll hear, and it's a super duper lazy one, is it's just a clump of cells. Well, newsflash. I'm 25 years old. I'm just a clump of cells. Yeah. So that really begs the question, when is viability? And then ask them when that is. There's no consistency. They don't know when viability is because there's no good answer to that question. Because it used to be, 40 weeks or 38 weeks and 30 weeks and 28 weeks.
Now it's like what, 20 or 21?
20, 21 weeks. Soon enough we're going to be into the 15s.
But like Crowder had a good argument about the viability thing, because it's like
based on location, right?
Right. It's based on your financial stability and your location. Because if you're a poor person in Alabama and you can't afford good health care, your baby obviously isn't going to be able to be born until a lot farther along.
Or if you're at a rural hospital in Alabama probably doesn't have the technology to keep a baby alive at 22, a preemie at 22 weeks.
But if you live in Boston,
at Johns Hopkins, or Boston Health, they might.
I'm pretty sure it was Boston that the earliest baby was delivered, and I almost remember it being 20 weeks, but it could be 21. Regardless, 21 weeks is super early. That's super early.
And so if people are lost where we're going with this, we're trying to say that viability is not consistent, meaning geographical location then determines what viability is, and that determines what a life is. So
not only geographical location.
We're basically then saying that the life in Boston is more valuable than the life in Alabama, just because viability in Boston is 22 weeks, but in Alabama it's 2 weeks.
But that's like saying that's also saying that poor family doesn't have the right to keep their to keep their baby alive. That you're valuing life differently, because now you're saying that this person, this baby is younger and can be viable sooner in this area. So you're saying that baby in Alabama doesn't have as much of a right to live because it can't be viable sooner because of the technology in the hospital. So you're valuing someone's life higher just because of like a couple week difference in age as a baby. You know what I mean? So you're saying that this life has more value than that life because of the location they live in. That makes no sense.
Same with time frame. Same with time frame. Imagine a baby that was born around the Civil War period. No chance that they're going to survive at 25 weeks.
Right.
In 2023, a baby is probably going to survive at 25 weeks. Right. It's like,
and
it's.
I don't know. Like a lot of people don't understand either that there's a couple states, like New York is a state. They have you're allowed to have an abortion all the way up until birth. In Colorado, you can have an abortion 28 days after the baby's born. How is that not like a felony? If the baby's out of the womb and it's living, it's out of the womb.
About that. doesn't sound right.
Hang on, I keep talking. I'll look it up and I'll bring it up if I when I find it.
Okay, all right, look that up for me because that doesn't sound right. That's obviously murder. There should be zero debate on that. That is obviously the most heinous behavior ever. But basically, our point, like, does geographic location or like the time frame and period define which life is more valuable than others? No, of course not. The life in San Diego is equivalent to the life in Alabama, rural Alabama, or the Adirondacks in New York. They don't have many hospitals, so that baby should just be considered a baby at conception, fertilization.
Right.
So our next argument, and I'll let you butt in if you find that, our next argument is the women's right to choose is the one that they'll say and bring up a lot. My body, my choice.
Mm-hmm.
Since I'm a comic these days, my immediate thought is, oh, what about vaccine mandates? Is it my body, my choice? Then they immediately short circuit. You can see the steam coming out of their ears, and
right.
Oh, that's different. I'm like, yeah, it is, because in one you're killing a baby, and then the other one you're giving me an experimental drug.
Right.
But if it's a woman's right to choose, like, what exactly is it that she's choosing? So at no point is the choice to end the life of the baby the correct option, because me and Dalton and I support 4 choices: abstinence, motherhood, adoption, contraception.
Yeah.
Those are 4 good choices. Killing the baby is not one of those choices that we support. That kind of begs the other, the arguments that they love to bring up, like rape and incest. Well, what about rape and incest? So those cases are extremely low. It's less than 1% of all abortions. If like 1 million abortions a year, less than like 10,000 of those are rape and incest.
Mm-hmm.
So in a debate, if somebody says rape and incest, say something like, let's say I'm okay with abortion in the instance of rape and incest. Can we agree that the other 99% of abortions are bad? Can we agree that the other 950,000 abortions a year are bad?
Yeah.
They usually don't agree with that, and they're just using rape and incest.
Yeah, rape and incest is less than 2% of at least why people say they're getting an abortion, right? I mean, if you're going to hang your entire argument on less than 2% chance of something happening, that's a very unlikely argument regardless.
I mean, forget the fact that, I'm still not really in favor of abortion in terms of rape or incest. It's still a baby. I don't think that rape is heinous. Rapists should be murdered or castrated, killed or castrated. But the baby's father's horrible, heinous action doesn't automatically disqualify the baby from life. And I don't think the mother is better off mentally or physically from killing the baby. Oh, you're going to force a mother to carry a baby and deal with the thought of her. No, I'm not forcing any. I would never force somebody to get pregnant. I would never force somebody to do that. But what I'm saying is that baby that's in that womb, since I believe it's a baby at conception, I don't think you should kill it because of the father's heinous action. If my dad went out and committed a crime right now, I shouldn't be held liable. Right. Same thing. To me, that's the same thing, Yeah.
Let me show this part quick. It's not quite. It doesn't quite show the 20. I'm still looking for the 28 days after birth, but this right here shows that in Colorado, you can terminate the pregnancy up to a 40-week complete full 40-week pregnancy for any reason without. Can you see? I have it here. Let me pull it up. You won't be able to see it, but I'll see it on the right here. So this shows that in Colorado you can terminate a pregnancy all the way up until birth, at least till birth, with no reason. You don't need a reason. You can do it with no one can question you. You can do it regardless of, all the way up until birth, at least. Anyway, continue what you were saying.
Okay, yeah. So I'm saying that it's a life, no matter what. The father, committed a heinous crime. The baby shouldn't be held liable and murdered. So the other argument that they like to bring up is the health of the mother. Also rare. But if you need to save the life of the mother, do it, of course.
Well, I think at that point, it shouldn't be considered an abortion, right? I mean,
That's a life-saving medical
Right,
procedure.
it's a life-saving medical procedure. I mean, if it's obviously if the mother's life is at risk, she should have a say in whether she lives or dies, right? I mean, so obviously that is undoubtedly obviously the mother should have the choice in that situation. I mean, unless you disagree, but that's my opinion on that.
I don't not disagree, but like let's say that the baby is 22 weeks and then the mother's gonna have complications. The baby has to come out anyway. Why
If
not try to keep it
But
alive?
that's right, right. No, I agree. If it's
Yeah.
after if it's during the viability, if it's possible that the baby can be
Adoption with
born.
viability. What even is that?
Okay, if it's possible that the baby can survive outside of the womb, huh?
Try it.
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Then you
If
should
it's
have
possible.
right. If there's going to be health complications, but you're at a point where the baby can survive outside of the womb, the baby should be born and the mother should be saved. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't
Now,
if you're at a point where the baby can survive out of the womb, you don't have to kill the baby at this point in order to save the mother's life.
unless like unless that does need to happen. I don't know. Those ones are
Unless it's
very
an emergency situation, but still that the vast majority of these situations are discovered far sooner than that. Far sooner.
yeah, yeah. So health of the mother is um really rare, but if the baby is at a point where it's able to come out of the womb and survive, just try it. If not, you know what? Most of us are okay with that. We don't want to see the mother die.
Well, at that point, let me make an even more better point for that. But like, if you're at a point where the baby can survive outside of the womb, and there is going to be a health complication, and you can deliver the baby, and lives can be saved,
Do that one.
you're murder. No, you're literally murdering the baby at that point.
What do you mean?
If you still decide to have an abortion.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. If the baby can come out, if you can both make it, do that.
Right. No, that's what I mean. Like if they're both viable, like
If the baby's at 15 weeks and it's not really likely that the baby's going to survive out of the womb, uh, and the mother's going to die if it doesn't come out,
right.
then obviously take it because like if the mother's going to die and the baby's only 15 weeks old, the baby's going to die inside of her anyway. So
Right.
like at least keep one of them alive. You know, it's like
Right.
there's never an instance and you can't try to save the baby
All life
or
should be
then it's
tried to be protected at all times, right? All life, especially innocent life, should be protected. Like should in this aspect should
yeah,
be protected at all times.
yeah, of course, of course. And then my favorite quote of all time from Ronald Reagan once said, "I've noticed that everyone who is for abortion has already been born." So
Yeah.
I too have noticed that every single person that's in favor of abortion is already alive and well, uh, which is a really good point because most babies, in fact, 100% of babies that have been aborted, probably were not in favor of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But
Well, like to expand on your point of like the rape and incest, there are people like I've seen. I think Tim Pool had one of the people on his podcast that was a rape baby that was born from a mother that was going to abort the baby because she, had gotten raped, but the person was very, glad to be alive, right? I mean, this
most of
person,
them are, yeah.
right. So, I mean, I understand the compassion behind, why people want to allow people to be able to terminate the pregnancy if they get raped, but there's a lot of different there are a lot of different things to look at in that aspect too, because like in
That's a
general, if
baby.
well,
That's our whole
hang on,
argument. So,
hang
like,
on, but hang on,
yeah.
even before that,
Okay.
before that point even happens, if someone gets raped, the first thing they should do is go to the authorities, right? Get that person, whoever raped that person, should be in jail or dead, right? So the first thing they should do is bring it to the
And
authorities. Well, he should, yeah, but I mean, the person that raped should be dead. They should be hung. They should, they should. There's no good thing should happen to that person. But the first thing that happens when someone's raped, if they go to the hospital, is I'm pretty sure they offer a plan B instantly. Like you have the option to terminate it then and there. you can completely terminate it before conception. Like I mean, unless you're waiting a week or two before you go and get checked out, then you're screwed, right? Because this can be I mean, in order that has to be like neglect. In order for someone to get raped and have the baby after, they would have to not try to go to the hospital or try to go to the authorities or try to, make the claim that someone raped them. So at that point, how can you claim it if you're not going to do the proper, you know, go through the proper process to get them prosecuted and get everything, get all of the information out and get the evidence out, right?
Yeah.
This could be ended before it even has to be aborted.
Yeah, it's just
But obviously,
there's
we don't want to
so
see
many.
we don't want to see people suffer. We don't want to see, like, obviously there's people that aren't in a good situation that that want to maybe get an abortion because they don't think they can handle being a mother or handle being a father or financially handle it. Or I understand that,
Don't have
but there's
sex.
well, I mean, you could say that, but obviously we're not going to be able to stop that. But at least there's still other options. I mean, there's adoption, there's raising the kid, there's like
Contraception.
taking accountability for your actions. I mean, people
Yeah,
don't want to
like,
talk about that, but
you don't get
that's
to
one
engage.
serious like thing you
You
could
don't
do
get
is
to
actually
engage in an
take
act.
accountability for what you did.
You don't get to engage in an act in which you know that the potential outcome of that is a baby, and then
Right.
just kill the baby afterwards because of your own negligent action. That doesn't happen. You don't get to do that.
Right.
So we could talk about this all day long. And I actually, if anybody has any other like solid arguments you want to add in the comments, let me know. I didn't hit them all because
It's long.
I
Yeah.
wasn't debating somebody. If somebody wants to debate me on this too, that was fine. We can
Yeah.
do that. I'm
Do you
ready
do
to
you
go.
have more to elaborate on this, or do you want to hit a different point?
I just kind of want to go on like at
Okay,
this point. Like,
let me make one funny like
hold on. I actually one more thing.
okay.
If you First off, if you're listening and you are on Instagram, go ahead and follow Live Action Org. They're really good. They throw up a lot of good activism for keeping babies alive and stuff. But at the end of the day, ask people when viability is. Go and check out. Watch a video on how an abortion is performed. You will literally watch a baby rip limb from limb, and we're talking only like 2.5, 3 months. You'll watch them ripped from the womb, limb from limb.
Yeah.
It's it's sick. It's sycophantic, psychopathic behavior to support this, and just show people what abortion is. Ask them when they think it's okay, and then ask them why. Why are they okay with it at 6 months? Why are you okay with it at 4 weeks? Why are people that are okay with it at 4 weeks? I'm more apt to agree with you than somebody that says 6 months. But why are they putting those arbitrary dates?
Yeah.
Why? Ask them why they believe that, and then ask them if there's a more consistent time period. Basically, our argument for abortion is that that is a baby at fertilization because there's no other consistent time frame of development, of fetal development, which they'll say, when the word fetus actually is just Latin for offspring. So that's another semantic argument. But ask people, when is it okay to abort a baby? And then when they give you a time period, ask them why they believe that time period is okay.
Yeah.
Ask them why they hold that belief. Show them a video of an abortion. And there's animated videos out there. Go to liveaction.org. Google it. They have a lot of actual educational resources out there. It's unbelievable what they do to these people,
Yeah.
and how many women show up to an abortion clinic, get an abortion, and then are depressed or commit suicidality in women that get abortions is like 40% higher than those who don't. Look this stuff up. Abortion is not the answer. Killing your baby is not your answer, because there are 33 couples in line for every single baby that is being born. And when people bring up the foster care argument, that's a completely different argument.
Yeah.
Don't get sidetracked with the foster care argument. That's a completely different argument. There's 33 couples in line. There are so little babies being born for the people that want to adopt them. Like me and my fiance are considering adoption. I have to wait in line.
Yeah.
Go through background checks and pay money to get the baby.
What people
If the babies are so abundant, we don't have to pay money. Like that's
what people don't want to talk about is they want to get out of the responsibility of what they did for their actions by being able to abort the baby. But what they don't want to talk about, they all you always have these left leaning like leftists, these liberals that want to say that why would I want to put my kid into adoption? Why would I want to do this? Why would I want to do that? Well, why are you deciding? It's like,
Why do you want to kill it?
but well, you know what I always thought was funny is, and how can people say that they got pregnant by accident? Like you can't tell me there's one single person that knows that if they engage in sexual activity that there's not a possibility of having a kid. Everyone
Yeah.
knows that there's a possibility that if you engage in sexual acts that you could potentially have a kid. So there's no such thing as an accidental birth. I mean, there may be an unintentional pregnancy, but there's no such thing as an accidental pregnancy because regardless,
I
it's a
slipped and
there's a
fell on.
possibility.
Yeah, they slipped and fell on his wee wee, and then they were pregnant. Like